correct me even when I was right. For instance, during one team meeting, I used the phrase beck and call. He interrupted me and said, "It's beck and call." Story 5. It's all in your head, Mental Health Commission. I walked away with a paper that read, Fully Mentally Healthy. Story 6. My father recommended suicide to me when I was a young teenager. I wasn't angry at that moment, but as I processed the gravity of it over time, it became infuriating. Story 7. In 5th grade, I complained to a teacher about being bullied. She told me, "You would make more friends if you got your nose out of that book every once in a while." Yes, let's discourage that reading habit so that the mean girls will treat me better. Story 8. You have the potential to be a good nurse. After being a combat medic and a paramedic for 8 years, I am now a nurse. Move forward. Story 9. The assignment was to circle or underline any words we didn't know from a 2 or 3 paragraph short story for 6th grade. I read the story, then approached the teacher's desk and said that I understood everything. She told me it was impossible and to try again. I am in my 30s now, and this still makes my blood boil. Story 10. Today I was told that I don't show initiative, and then in the next sentence I was criticized for setting up monitors without asking. This is the same person I spoke to about my teammate doing my work without informing me, which wasted my time. He said it's my fault and that I need to communicate with him more effectively. I love my job and the people I support, but I am frustrated with my IT teammates. Story 11. My boss told me, "You need to dress more appropriately." I'm sure male colleague 1 and male colleague 2 appreciate it, but I don't. I was 29, she was nearly 50, and I was wearing regular shirts to work. Absolute basic office wear. I came home and cried for hours because I couldn't afford to buy new clothes, and I didn't understand why she'd said it, as you couldn't even see a bit of cleavage, and I didn't even have cleavage to talk about then. I went to Human Resources the next day and told them what she'd said. I remember the HR representative gasping in disbelief, and her eyebrows almost disappearing into her hairline. Within a week, I was moved from her department. She then told everyone I'd accused her of being a bully, which was a lie, and she was completely unpleasant to my replacement as well. 14 years ago, and it still makes me mad that she thought it was acceptable to say that to me. Story 12. We served as environmental officers for an engineering company conducting environmental impact assessments to ensure that building projects would not harm local wildlife. I discovered that the construction company had destroyed an entire badger set and accidentally killed several animals in the process, which is highly illegal. Story 13. I was once told I was not allowed to drink water in class. The reason was that everyone else would want to do it. Yes, everyone should be allowed to do it. Story 14. When I was in my first year of teaching, my school let me down by assigning me an unqualified mentor. This meant I would have had to redo a year of training, but I appealed and won. I ended up resigning, and my principal remarked within earshot, "She doesn't know how good she has it here." Absolutely not. In the next school where I taught, my dad ended up in the hospital fighting pneumonia. We were advised not to leave the area because doctors didn't think he would survive. The principal was aware of this, but said, "We're not giving you any more time off." Spoiler, he survived, and I decided I was done with teaching due to unprofessional principals. Story 15. A long time ago, I had a manager who said in a meeting that everyone needed to stop acting selfishly because nobody here is irreplaceable. Get some perspective. Later, he was replaced for having an inappropriate relationship. I still find it amusing whenever I recall that moment. Story 16. I do not like the sticky notes on your files. They are too large, and you need to use this blue pen from now on, not black. The sticky notes were for me to remind myself of what I had done in the auditing process. Once it was ready to hand off, I removed the notes. She was the ultimate micromanager. Story 17. When I was about 20, I told my line manager that I would like to pursue a promotion opportunity one had become aware of, but it would involve moving to a different office. At that time, there was no formal process to apply for promotions, and they did not involve interviews. If management wanted you, they promoted you or moved you to a different position, but generally you would express your interest informally. He responded in a rather indifferent manner, stating that there was no point because he had already spoken to the area director and that I would be staying in my current position for the time being. When I asked why, he replied, "Because I need you here." I was reaching a point where I could stand up for myself more effectively, and I asked him if he had truly blocked a promotion for me simply because it suited him. I escalated the matter and was promoted within a couple of weeks. Story 18. My manager said, "We are not that far behind. You and your coworker just need to work harder." This was a year ago, and we are still behind. Story 19. Work harder or find a different job. In response to a cost of living adjustment request, I tried the work harder approach and eventually found a different job with a 125% salary increase. Story 20. When I was 17, I worked as an office assistant, handling mail, typing, covering reception, and making deliveries. We also held weekly formal lunches for up to 12 clients, for which I collected, plated, and served a 3-course meal followed by coffee, and cleaned up afterwards. The cleanup could take hours in a tiny kitchen sink. After one of these lunches, the boss came into the kitchen to get a drink from the fridge and asked how I was doing. I replied, "We need a dishwasher." His response was, "That's what you are." This was also the man in his 60s who couldn't remember my name and referred to me as the one with the breasts. Story 21. As a server, a difficult restaurant manager overloaded me and my colleagues with too many tables. I informed the hostess that I couldn't take another table until I received the order for a large group. The manager confronted me and insisted, "When you're given a table, you have to take it." I attempted to reason with him, asking if I should let my other tables wait unnecessarily long for their orders. He interrupted me, insisting, "You take the tables, end of story." Service suffered that night and on many other nights under his supervision. He was eventually fired for his incompetence. Story 22. I wrote a paper for an essay during my first year of undergraduate studies. The professor told me it contained a bad argument and was unsubstantiated, leading to a lower grade. In the next lesson, he quoted my essay word for word and claimed he had come up with it while reading his material. After that class, I stopped attending in person and no longer watched the recordings. I passed the course with the equivalent of an A and recently discovered that he had done the same to other students. We complained, but he dismissed us by saying, "You're only students. You don't know anything." Story 23. I tried to talk to my mom about some of the abuse I suffered as a child, and she told me I was making it up and that I was only saying I was abused to make her feel bad. Story 24. I expect you to always exceed expectations. Therefore, I cannot give you an exceeds expectations ranking, as you are simply meeting my expectations. Story 25. You just need to focus on my subject. I don't care about how you do in others, my 8th grade teacher. I still kind of dislike her. Story 26. Management wanted us to report everything, be mindful of health and safety, and keep accurate paperwork.